What if everything you believed about love was wrong? What if being handsome, successful, or the perfect gentleman actually wasn't what made her fall for you? And what if I told you that women don't fall in love with men at all, but with something much deeper, much more primal? The truth is, women don't love you for your money, your looks, or even your personality. They love the feeling they get when they're around you. They fall for the emotional experience, not the resume. That's why a woman can choose the guy who makes her laugh over the guy who buys her everything. Why she'll go back to an ex who treated her like a roller coaster instead of the one who was stable and safe. Because to her, love isn't a checklist. It's a storm, a rush, a ride she doesn't want to get off. And if you don't understand that, you'll keep wondering why the nice guys lose and why the ones who make her feel something win. In this video, we're going to break down how women truly connect emotionally, what most men get painfully wrong, and how you can trigger a feeling so powerful she'll never forget you. No gimmicks, no manipulation, just truth, psychology, and a new lens that changes how you see love forever. If you're ready for a perspective shift that most men will never learn, stay with me, because we're about to decode the emotional key to her heart. Let me tell you something most men never learn, not because they're not smart enough, but because no one ever taught them. Women don't fall in love with you. They fall in love with how you make them feel. I know that sounds unfair, maybe even frustrating, especially if you spent your life trying to be the right man, the dependable one, the nice guy, the one who shows up, provides, listens, and loves with consistency. And yet, somehow, she drifts. Somehow, she gets bored. Somehow, she still thinks about the guy who gave her butterflies, not stability. Why? Because love, for women, isn't a formula. It's a feeling. It's not a checklist of traits. It's a storm of emotions. Psychologists call this emotional imprinting. It's the process by which a woman remembers not what you said, not what you gave her, but how you made her feel. And if you didn't make her feel something intense, unpredictable, or unforgettable, you may be forgotten, no matter how perfect you were on paper. Imagine this. Two men meet her on the same day. One says all the right things, dresses well, smiles politely, plays it safe. The other? He teases her, challenges her, makes her laugh unexpectedly, pushes back playfully. One becomes a memory. The other becomes an imprint. It's not fair, but it's real. That's why women go back to their exes even after the pain, even after swearing they're done. Because it's not him she misses, it's the feeling he gave her. The emotional high, the sense of being alive. And here's where most guys go wrong. They try to earn love with logic. But women don't fall in love with logic. They fall in love with tension, contrast, mystery, and moments that bypass the brain and go straight to the heart. So the next time you wonder why she chose that guy instead of you, ask yourself this: did she feel safe? Or did she feel something? Because the men she remembers are the ones who don't just show up. They shake something awake in her. Have you ever sent a text and then waited? You stare at your phone, check the time, wonder why she hasn't replied. And the longer she stays silent, the more your mind starts to spiral. Sound familiar? Now flip that scenario. Have you ever had someone text you instantly, always agree, always be available for you? What did that feel like? Safe? Or maybe a little boring? You see, women are wired for emotional contrast, for tension, and tension isn't a bad thing. It's the spark that creates attraction. When a man is always there, always saying yes, always trying to prove himself, he becomes predictable. And predictability kills desire. It's not about playing games. It's about understanding that mystery creates motion. Space creates curiosity. And without those two things, she stops feeling the emotional electricity that pulls her in. Human nature is simple. We don't chase what's already guaranteed. We're drawn to what feels just out of reach. That's why high-value men don't chase. They don't flood her with constant attention. They give her space to lean in. They lead with confidence, but never desperation. And when she reaches out, they don't give her everything at once. They allow room for mystery to breathe. That doesn't mean being cold or manipulative. It means knowing that your presence is valuable and treating it that way. Because the second she knows she has you fully, the game is over. Not because she's cruel, but because her brain relaxes. And when her brain relaxes, her feelings fade. So if you want her to feel something, don't overwhelm her with presence. Create moments where she can wonder about you. Because once she stops wondering, she starts forgetting. And in love, it's not always the man who tries hardest who wins. It's the man who knows when to pause, when to lead, and when to pull back, just enough to keep the fire alive. Let's talk about the nice guy, the one who does everything right, always agrees, never raises his voice, never challenges her, never sets a boundary. He thinks kindness means constant approval, that saying yes makes him more lovable, more desirable, more safe. But here's the cold truth. While women might appreciate a nice guy, they don't desire him. Because deep down, what they truly crave isn't niceness, it's strength. Emotional strength. The kind that doesn't waver under pressure. The kind that holds steady when things get messy. The kind that doesn't disappear when he's challenged. You see, women aren't drawn to men who fold. They're drawn to men who can be calm in chaos. The man who doesn't argue every time he's pushed, but also doesn't let his values be negotiated. The man who's kind, but not a pushover. Who listens, but still leads. Who can walk away if he needs to. Not because he wants to, but because he refuses to abandon himself just to be accepted. This is the difference between being nice and being grounded. And women feel it deeply. They test for it, not because they're trying to be difficult, but because instinctively they want to know, can you handle her energy, her emotion, her chaos? Will you become part of it, or will you anchor it? That's where Stoic masculinity enters the picture. A man who doesn't react emotionally, who doesn't try to fix everything, who doesn't need constant approval. That's the kind of presence that captivates. It's not about being cold, it's about being composed. A woman doesn't want a therapist. She doesn't want another girlfriend. She wants a man who makes her feel safe by being safe. And when she sees that you can stay centered when everything else is spinning, she won't just respect you, she'll feel something deeper, something instinctual, something that says, this is a man I can trust, follow, and feel myself with. So if you've been trying to be nice, maybe it's time to be something better. Be solid, be still. Be the man who doesn't move when the world does, and watch how everything changes. Here's something that most men never realize, but once you understand it, it changes everything. A woman doesn't fall in love with you as you are. She falls in love with the version of you she creates in her mind. It's not the reality, it's the story. Psychologists call this cognitive projection, the tendency to project our own desires, fears, hopes, and beliefs onto someone else. So when a woman meets you, she's not just seeing your actions or hearing your words. She's interpreting everything through the lens of her past, her pain, her expectations, and even her fantasies. That's why one woman can be head over heels for a guy who barely says anything, while another woman thinks he's boring. It's not about who he is, it's about how she perceives him. And here's the catch. Perception changes fast. A woman can go from feeling deeply in love to completely disconnected. And it's not because you did something wrong. It's because the story in her mind shifted. Maybe you became too predictable. Maybe you stopped being a mystery. Maybe you let her see everything too soon, and the image she built around you started to collapse. That's the danger of letting perception develop without intention. And it's where most guys go wrong. They believe being real means giving her everything up front. But the truth is, emotional attraction isn't just about honesty. It's about fascination, curiosity, contrast. When a woman always knows what you'll say, what you'll do, how you feel, her brain no longer has a reason to stay engaged. You become background noise. The most powerful men in her life weren't always the smartest or best looking. They were the ones who created emotional contrast. The ones who could be deeply connected in one moment and slightly distant in the next. Not as a game, but as a rhythm. A sense of unpredictability that made her mind keep spinning. So ask yourself this: what story is she telling herself about you? Are you the mystery she can't stop decoding, or the answer she already figured out? Because once she stops wondering, she starts detaching. And when she detaches emotionally, it's nearly impossible to bring her back. Remember, you don't have to change who you are. You just have to understand the story unfolding in her mind. If you learn how to shape that story with presence, mystery, and emotional rhythm, you won't just win her attention, you'll win her imagination. And that's where real love lives. Not in the facts, but in the feeling she never wants to lose. Passion might spark a relationship, but it's not what keeps a woman around. What keeps her, what roots her, is emotional safety. And I'm not talking about physical protection. That's basic. I'm talking about the kind of emotional presence that makes her feel secure, not just in the relationship, but in herself when she's with you. Because here's the truth: women feel deeply. Their emotional state shifts like the tide. One day she might be confident and affectionate, the next day uncertain and distant. That's not a flaw. That's not manipulation. That's how she's wired. And in a world where her own emotions often feel like a storm, what she truly craves is a man who becomes her anchor. A man who doesn't get swept up in her waves, who doesn't panic when she's upset, who doesn't try to fix her feelings like they're a broken machine, and definitely not a man who collapses emotionally alongside her, forcing her to carry both of your feelings at once. That's exhausting. What she needs is someone steady, someone who can hear her pain without rushing to silence it, someone who can hold space for her chaos without adding to it. That's what makes her feel safe. And that safety? That's what creates loyalty, long-term attraction, unshakable trust. The strongest men aren't the ones who feel nothing. They're the ones who can feel everything but remain grounded anyway. So don't try to fix her. Don't match her emotions just to feel connected. Stay calm. Stay centered. Let her know through your actions that no matter what storm she's in, you'll still be there, steady, present, whole. Because when a woman feels safe with you, not controlled, not corrected, just safe, that's when she stops looking anywhere else. That's when she knows she's home. At the end of the day, women don't stay because you check all the boxes. They don't stay because you're perfect on paper. They stay because of how they feel when they're with you. Safe, seen, led, not in a controlling way, but in the way that brings calm to their chaos and clarity to their emotions. Long-term connection isn't built on logic. It's built on energy, on presence, on your ability to be the steady pulse when everything else feels uncertain. That's what makes a woman stay. That's what makes her trust you, respect you, and choose you again and again. So if there's one thing you take from this video, let it be this. Your strength isn't in how much you give or how fast you chase. It's in how still you remain when the emotional winds blow. Be the man who doesn't try to fix her, but helps her feel safe in her storm. Be the man who listens without judgment, leads without force, and stays grounded no matter what. Because when you become that kind of man, you don't have to chase love. You become the place where love stays. If this resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because we're just getting started. Here, we don't play games. We learn how to lead. Stay sharp, stay stoic, and let them chase.